ultimate things in life are free, and we're keeping it that way. Subscribe to keep up with the latest games, tournaments, and community content. Share it with your team and friends, and drop a like to help spread Ultimate to more people. Spread the word, spread the love. Ultimate.tv.
Bichon picks up, and they've got a short field. They've got another goal. It's tied up at 12. I cannot believe what I'm seeing
Can
here.
Lola Dam chase that one down?
That is a score for Hartlinger Elferkel. Fantastic run by Julia Love.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge.
And we believe that that requires knocking down the paywall.
We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch, and we want them to go viral.
When you become a member, you enable us to improve our working relationships with tournament organisers, events and federations.
And you'll help us to produce live stories for Ultimate fans, and to generate new fans with our enhanced content.
We are a group of Ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts, and we want to bring you coverage on a more consistent basis. We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Ciao ragazzi, support the community.
Let's subscribe Ulti TV. There's lots of the videos, posting, everything. Check it out. They are the best one. Woo!
If you want to grow Ultimate Sports, become a member of Ulti TV.
Regardez Ulti TV. Deviens un membre Ulti TV et fais grandir ta communauté.
Top Ulti TV فيلم eroginkime Ultimate Vendromena. Si quieres ayudar a Ulti TV, puedes ser miembro de Ulti TV.
Everyone, follow Ulti.tv on Instagram, on YouTube. They've got everything.
Best content.
Like their pictures if you love frisbee. Just do it.
We're counting on you.
Bli medlem på Ulti TV.
Became member of Ulti.tv.
Mamma mia.
Contribue au développement d'Ultimate avec Ulti TV.
Like and subscribe. Ulti.tv, the best in the world.
We want to grow Ultimate.
we want to grow Ultimate. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We have our signature style 2-camera setup,
With thousands of hours of experience,
and our crew is globally dispersed to facilitate coverage everywhere around the world. We can also scale back our broadcast with just one elevated camera, or scale up with 2 fields, 2 cameras, and 2 commentators on each.
we work with local teams and we all have the same mission, to grow the sport and bring it to new people by providing live coverage and news stories.
Become a member today on our Patreon page.
And fund our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories, ideas and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Hello and good morning and welcome to our first quarter matchup final of the day. We have a great game ahead of ourselves here. We've got myself, Troy Weston, in the booth with my fellow on the mic, Lorcan Murphy.
What's going on, Troy? You are completely correct, which is a rarity, I know, but something I'm certainly going to enjoy this time around, as we have got the 2-time Masters champions of Canada taking on the two-time Masters champions of America. That is still against Voltron, a classic matchup. Ottawa versus Seattle. And something that I think a lot of people from around the world are very familiar with seeing is the Canadian-American matchup. So I gotta know, Troy, as someone who's been inside that competition, is it a friendly one? Is there a bit of tension there?
I would say over the past few years, it's definitely grown to be a friendly camaraderie, friendly rivalship between these two teams. We've got a lot of players that have matched up against each other, as we do. Still is from East Coast, and Voltron being from West Coast. There's not a ton of crossover on matchups that we've seen, but both teams bringing players in from outside their regions. We do have a few matchups that will be ones that we've seen before. Still starting on D, Andy Corey with the pull.
We saw Still yesterday on the stream winning a nail-biting universe point matchup against Pacemaker.
Doy with the disc now. Centers it to Karlinski. Nice swing pass, opening up the field for Voltron. Sefton now with the disc in the middle. Back to Karlinski. Looking for something down line. And finds it. Voltron just taking their time, working it up the field, really showing their patience on the disc. A little bit of give-go from the handlers there. Speidel and Karlinski. An opening shot, he milks it into the end zone. First score by Chris Kosidar, and Voltron will take the lead 1-0.
They made that look routine for the team from Seattle. We were talking to them beforehand, and they described their offensive strategy as don't turn the disc over. And you can see that they're just going to run hard and take the easy open options every single time. We saw a lot of deep fakes, but none of those shots were chosen, and that was because the separation wasn't quite there. They're not a team who's going to lean into the hucks unless the hucks are on. Still are going to need to react, going to need to find a way to really beat Voltron person to person, which is no mean feat.
Both of these teams are highly athletic individuals on these teams, so it's going to be a game of legs for both teams. They're going to work hard to get this disc, and I think seeing a defensive play here is going to be huge if it happens and when it happens on one of these teams.
It's going to be a difficult thing to pull off, though, because Voltron are so well drilled, so deeply experienced, and in no way rushed. And that's an essential thing, because it's so difficult. The best way you get discs off people is you make them uncomfortable, you make them take shots that they wouldn't normally take unless they felt like they had to. You have to inspire desperation in your opponents. And Voltron have been nothing but confident all tournament long.
Foster with that pull for Voltron. Collected by Green. Centers to O'Callahan. Finds Keelan Way. Way with the big huck down the field to Ellis. We're going to see some Voltron players get underneath that. There may be a call here.
Really nicely done by the Voltron defenders, peeling off and trying to attack with multiple players. As we have another look. Absolutely huge defensive effort by Julian Hausmann, peeling off the back of the stack. And you can tell, still more than happy to take those shots. They had it in the 1v1 matchup. Good boxing out, but thanks to the help defense, it made it much more difficult to bring in.
And we're going to see a replay of that. It does look like Koss may have gotten in the way of vertical space of Ellis there, so it is going to be a contested foul, and so it will be sent back to Way. All the players now returning down the pitch to where they were when the disc was thrown, as that is what happens in a contested foul situation. Centering pass to Green. Ellis looking for something upfield to O'Callaghan. Voltron doing a really good job of playing some tight D. Lee finds a way to get open, and Hunter now on the sideline. Back to Way. Ellis now still having to work hard for each single possession. A big swooping reset pass to Green. An IO backhand from the lefty Green to find Ellis in the end zone. Swings it into Bryce Ring for the score through a diving Hausman.
So still opting to go with the under game this time around. Something that we've come to expect from Voltron all tournament long is they love this match defense. They love committing to it and just backing themselves to beat their man 1v1. And that's what we've seen throughout this tournament. We're going to have another look at still. And you can just tell how a defense is impacting a team when the handler shakes their head while holding the disc. But it's good work to the break side, and this was a nice quick shot. It's going to be called back. Hausman is already showing how he gets involved every time you try to throw it to the end zone.
There, it looks like to be a pick on the play, which is why it was sent back now to Ellis. An inside shot to Way.
Could have been a push pass.
Still setting up their end zone, looking for that patient cut. Mike Lee with the disc now just outside the end zone. A huge around flick to O'Callaghan. He manages to reel it in. Was he in the end zone? No, he was not. But he finds a leaping Ellis through the Voltron defender. Hausman again for the score, still with the hold.
That was a big-time GAA grab by Brian O'Callaghan. All those years on those pitches down in Nemo in Cork. He knows how to use his body to block them out and go up strong with two hands. I'm also very interested to see how the matchup between Patrick Bayless and Mike Lee goes, as we know Mike Lee is so crucial for Still, and Voltron have to have scouted that. Brilliant grab, and who else but Hausman? He was involved all three times, and that doesn't mean his man is getting beaten. It means he's just so heads up and ready on this defensive end in the end zone. An absolute shark.
I'm already out of my seat now, as this game is just proving to be so exciting to watch. We're seeing both teams coming out on fire on offense, pressure hard on defense. This is going to be a matchup to really pay attention to.
I do think it has to be noted, Still were taken down with some great grabs, what I would consider markedly more contested throws than Voltron. So Still are going to have to really step up their physical effort if they want to stick close to the Seattle side on the offensive end.
Well, we're about to see what this Still defense can do. Corey with the pull again. Pulls yesterday were just sailing quite well for both teams that were playing on the pitch.
But we know from experience how quickly things can change here in Limerick, especially in this bowl where the wind has a mind of its own and it doesn't want to share its thoughts with you. Voltron have come into this matchup in commanding fashion. The closest they've come to getting beaten is their 15-10 game against the Brits Magic Toast. So only one team has hit double digits against Voltron, and they've hit 15 every single time.
Do you think we're going to see it here again today?
My prediction is a 15-11 victory to Voltron. But I'm happy to be proven wrong, as I was yesterday when I called Pacemaker in the Universe Point matchup against Still. So these Canadians enjoy making me look like a fool.
Castine with the disc for Voltron. Players not using their hand signals on the field, so not quite sure what's happening here, but Eirik to call back his markup with Harkness. So possibly a pick. Voltron doing a really nice job again of moving that disc. You're right, Still need to amp up that pressure if they're going to want to turn them in. And we've got Marquette now with the disc just outside the end zone. Casadar around to Harkness, but misses just over his head. Marquette there to catch the garbage. Kosadnar with the score.
And that one is just a little bit of a conversation. There's no call there. So, still we're able to get a little bit of pressure on. I like that flash into the open side that forced the arcing around break. I thought it was an example of Voltron just being ready to adapt to whatever still threw at them. But when that disc hung a little bit, there was the opportunity for the D. So they are going to be able to create some opportunities for themselves. And when we were watching still yesterday, they recognized Pacemaker like to send it deep. So they were trying to shade that side of their opponents. As we have another look. So watch for the flash across. It just shuts off that open side dump cut, forcing the high flick break. Fortunately for Still. Sorry, not Still. Fortunately for Voltron, they were able to clean it up on the other side.
I did like that matchup that we saw, Harkness versus Eirik. Harkness being a veteran player from Sockeye on the West Coast, and Eirik being one of the West Coast pickups for Still, a veteran player of Furious George.
So it's always great when we get to see a revitalization of the late noughties rivalry that dominated North American Ultimate Furious George and Seattle Sockeye. So 2-1 to Voltron. All offensive holds, no turns yet.
Foster with the spinning pull. Green will collect again. Bit of a rolling away from him, though, as the Voltron defense comes down to block that first pass to the middle. But he finds Ellis, who finds way up the line, looks for the huge flick pass. Mike Lee trying to get there, but what a bid. Oh, my goodness. Adam Simon with that insane vertical bid.
So there was a call as we're going to have another look at this huge bid. What a D by Adam Simon, although it will go back because there was a travel call about 2 throws before that. So if anybody was wondering just how Keelan Way managed to get that free in the power position, it was because of a call further down the pitch. So still kind of getting away with that one, and you can see the Voltron are going to be switching up the people they put on Mike Lee. A smart decision, I believe.
I think Mike almost thought he had that one, as he did have steps on Adam Simon, but Simon just proving his athleticism with that big bid. Hunter now with the disc for Still in the middle. Finds Way. Mike Lee again in the middle, finds a few yards open. Ellis, will he look for that flick again? Looked like Hunter was streaking for it, looking for it, but instead looks to reset to O'Callaghan as there's a pick called in the middle of the field.
And you can see, if you're a young player, the intent that all of these cutters put into their fakes. It's the same speed, and you have to in order to dislodge your player at this level.
Still now knocking on the door. O'Callaghan forcing to look for a reset, but looks it off, finds a diving Greg Ellis in the end zone for another hold from Still.
Fantastic play by Ellis. It looked for a second that Brian O'Callaghan might have put a bit too much sauce on that backhand, but Ellis dives out, extending his arms and picking up his 13th goal of the tournament so far to go with his 10 assists, which makes him in second position on his team for stats and showing just how crucial he is to this Still offensive line. As here we have another look. There's the cut back, and Brian looks to just set it up in a dish, but he has to put it around the defensive pressure and in a place that only Greg Ellis could collect it.
That had to be a high stall count release from Mike Lee there. His mark just giving him absolutely nothing on the round. Pat Bayless with that mark. Really good mark there, so probably a high stall count release, I would say, to the end zone, kind of a last-minute resort.
One of those moments where the window is so small that as you turn from the backhand side, don't trust yourself to get it across into a flick, so you just throw the inside backhand. We've seen an awful lot of those. I do believe they're slightly easier to hand block, but they're also a lot easier to control.
Andy Corey rolling pull, goes out the sideline, not even makes it to the brick line on the other side of the field. So Voltron will be forced to take it into the sideline, only maybe 10 yards up from the end zone. He looks like he's trying to walk it to the middle. North American rules would say, actually no, North American rules, it still has to come to the sideline because it landed in and rolled out. Doy with the disc now. Back to Kosanar. Still putting a little pressure on downfield, forcing Voltron to play back and forth with their handlers a little bit more than in points past. But Doi finds a little bit of yards upfield. Harkness now. Back to Kosadar. Disc is in the middle of the field. Sefton on Still's brick line now with Karlinski. Over to Harkness and Kosadar just outside the end zone, and another score. Joe Sefton with the catch.
And again, Voltron just happy to work it with those short passes and hard running all the way down the pitch. And as I was talking about earlier, when Still were preparing for Pacemaker, they prepared for the deep shot. They prepared to shade the back shoulder and force them under. With Voltron, it seems like an inversion of that, as Voltron will just take whatever you give them. And right now, they seem to be giving them the unders. So it'll be interesting to see if Still maybe come out with a zone or try doing a bit more switching to shut down this short field play.
Cheeky push pass there.
We love it.
So Still coming out yesterday, we're talking to you, Lorcan, saying that their defensive strategy is to play on that back hip. So essentially almost giving them an under, but a pressured under, I think, is the goal. So they're really not wanting to give up those deep shots. And we aren't seeing them giving up any right now, but Voltron are happily just like, you're giving me the under, I will take it, thank you very much.
The big part of that is Voltron's ability to break the mark. They seem to be just switching the width of the pitch at will. So we will need to see the Still marks really clamp down and try to limit Voltron's ability to move it around the pitch laterally.
Adam Simon with the arcing pull. Green centers to O'Callaghan. Over to Ring. A pick was called. Ellis was wide open there, so I'm not surprised that was a little bit of a pick, and it will go back to Ring.
Look at how much space is here on the near side of the pitch that Voltron have created. That's just experience.
You mean Still?
Oh, Still, sorry.
A stifling Voltron D forces Ring to reset to Bryce, and Mike Lee with the bump on that, diving Andrew Hagen. I will be surprised if there's not a foul call. There is a foul, no contest. The disc should stay with Lee. Wait.
So that's the retracted hand signal.
That is the retracted hand signal. I was wrong. Let's have a look at that again. I guess Mike is just saying that the contact did not have an effect on the fact that it was a bobbled disc. And a low grab from Voltron on the far sideline from Hagen. Hagen playing a bit of give and go now with Mario O'Brien. Another Seattle Sockeye stalwart. And O'Brien finds Hausman in the end zone for the first break of the game.
And that was a very impressive break. The dump cut to get free was fantastic. Again, starting the fakes and attacking with such aggression that the defender has to bid, has to bite on it. And then they're able to change direction immediately. And there was no hesitation. Changed direction, got it right behind his man, and was just, that's an open break side. Brilliant dump cutting to set up the easy break throw for the score and the first break point of this game. So just watch O'Brien. Great dump cut, no hesitation, lashes it to the end zone in the streaking form of Julian Hausen, who picks up his 8th goal of the tournament. Quite impressive for a D-line player.
Oh, geez, a D-line player with 8 goals. That is impressive.
So it really shows the power that Voltron have been playing with so far in the tournament. They beat Puyol India 15-2. They beat Wizards Grand CRU 15-4, and they've continued that streak of power. So we will continue after these short messages.
The ultimate things in life are free, and we're keeping it that way. Subscribe to keep up with the latest games, tournaments, and community content. Share it with your team and friends, and drop a like to help spread Ultimate to more people. Spread the word, spread the love. Ultimate.tv.
And we are back in the quarterfinal matchup of Still from Ottawa, Canada versus Voltron from Seattle, USA. And we just saw our first break of the game from Voltron, making the score 4-2.
So as I expected, I thought Voltron would probably snap off 2 to 3 breaks in the first half, and we take half 8-5, and then I would expect Still to react quite well and be able to trade. I don't know if they'll be able to go on runs against this team, so they really can't allow these breaks to build up. As I was saying just before we took our brief sponsor break, that's something Voltron have been doing. They've been rolling teams once they start to feel it. Let's see how Still respond.
Still with their mainstay O-line back on the field. Way finds Hunter, and to green putt, a huge layout bid from Reed Koss, one of the captains of Voltron.
Oh, Captain, my Captain. He set sail on the high seas and smashed that one into the rocks.
Bestock picks up, finds Bayless. Over to Foster. Back to Bestock. O'Callaghan nearly dove for that one, but that will be kept possession by Voltron. Rifkin to Bayless in the end zone for another break.
And that millimeter of a decision seems to be the difference between the two teams. O'Callaghan recognized the play, tried to steal across and bid to get the block, and he was oh so close, but oh so far in the end, as opposed to Reed Koss, who had a very similar experience. You'll see here, he recognizes what's coming. Brian O'Callaghan is not his man. He recognized the pop was coming, huge bid. And here we can see O'Callaghan was playing tight D, almost able to jump across, and then Lee tries to go for the quick switch, but he was on the back shoulder, and in the end, it is a comfortable collection for Patrick Bayless.
Voltron really just showing their experience by O'Callaghan coming across a little bit for that D. He loses his man, Rifkin. So Rifkin taking advantage of those couple of steps away from O'Callaghan, wide open for the disc, and easily puts it in the end zone to Bayless.
And this is what Still we're afraid of, what all the Canadian fans back in Ottawa and all over Canada, I imagine, we're also quite afraid of. Voltron getting rolling.
So we've got Still's D-line now on the field, going to try to take this O-point. Christian Foster with the pull.
I like this mix-up decision as well. You know, you get broken a few times in a row, put out some new players, some fresh legs, throw something different at the Voltron side and see what you get.
And it isn't too windy out this morning, but that was enough wind to put the disc out of bounds. And so Still will get to take it at the brick mark. Nick Cece over to Clark. Up the line to Hogo. Another up the line to Cece, toes the line. Oh, sorry, that's Prue. Clark. Lindquist. Irick. Benvenuti with 15 yards to go. Still looking to set up their end zone. Nudie having difficulties finding a reset, but he finds Cece. Voltron really amping up the pressure here, close to the end zone. An arcing throw over to Link. Hogel. A round throw to Irick. Has a few lost yards. Voltron really pushing back still. Back to Hogel. Still just finding absolutely nothing upfield to their cutters. And an overthrow by Hogel to Eirik will result in a turnover for Voltron.
I was ready to praise the irony of bringing a D-line on to play your own point and then watching them play really conservative, smart offense the whole way down the pitch as we see a timeout from Mario O'Brien. That is a veteran decision. He recognizes this break could seal the game early. So we will be back after this timeout and a message from our sponsors with all the action. It is far from done. The Fat Lady remains silent for now.
We are back after that timely timeout from Mario O'Brien on Voltron. Voltron now setting up a vertical stack looking down the field. See how Still's D-line does at getting a D and managing to hold for Still. And Benvenuti with a huge layout bid.
Send it.
Unreal.
Send it! Oh, I can't believe they didn't send that to Benvenuti. What are you talking about? You need that boost to your confidence. You need that energy. You gotta feed him. You gotta give him a shot. He earned the turn.
Instead, Lindquist decides to play it patiently as there is a pick call on the field. So we're seeing a little bit of a stoppage, just chatting about where it needs to be brought back to.
To be clear to any young players who are watching this and watching their coaches, they're definitely making the right decisions. I'm just, you know, it would have been very fun if they'd said that to Benvenuti.
You can also call him Nudie if Benvenuti is too much of a mouthful.
That has other connotations on this side of the Atlantic. I'll stick with Benvenuti.
CC. Looking for a Hogel up the line, instead settles for a short one. Voltron pushing Still back again. Eirik now. Clark wide open in the middle. Doesn't happen very often. Big pass. Now he's looking for Benvenuti in the end zone. Lots of bodies getting underneath it, but Nudie will come down with that for the double happiness and the score for Still.
Massive, massive goal for Still. That's exactly the kind of response they needed. Benvenuti just taking a little time to get up, but he seems okay. Huge layout bid. Massive grab in the other side of the end zone. And I believe genuinely in the power of momentum, and I believe very sincerely in energy as well as an aspect of sport, something Benji disagrees with. Let's look again. Shutting it down. Benvenuti with the stripping play.
Huge D and right in front of the camera. Beautiful.
That's where we want him. And then he gets the right separation. I think they were trying to play under because they didn't expect that throw to come, but Clark said, well, if you're going to give it, I back Benvenuti with position. And that's why. Huge grab by the Canadian. I just wanted to share a little bit of a gushing moment as well with you, Troy, because there's some of the names on this team, like Jeff Lindquist, like Mario O'Brien, who are real legends of the sport. When I first came into it, so one could say, I grew up literally watching videos. Just a little shout out to the past Ulti Village, if anybody remembers that, from about 10, 12 years ago. We put out these really nicely put together highlight videos, and they would name some of the players, and it made the North American game just seem like this distant, ethereal thing that was just played at another higher level from the rainy fields of Cork in which I was being indoctrinated to our sport. And it's just so amazing to see them here in Ireland, and such a joy to watch them battle it out on these Limerick fields.
Voltron now, and we're seeing a bit of a different look from Still defense as they set up a bit of a zone, it looks like. Karlinski. As they melt into person defense, Voltron centers the disc. Back to Karlinski with the big put to the end zone, looking for Carnegie, who will be easily found and reel that disc in.
Carnegie had enough room in that end zone to build a haul. And that just shows how good Voltron are at setting up their cuts, at working together and taking the options when they come. And this is, I think, kind of the difference. You can't come up with a set defense for Voltron and say, all right, here's what they like to do. Because what they like to do is work hard and then take the easiest option. So your only real defensive strategy can be, how do we make all of their options as hard as possible? And yes, there's different strategies. You can shade different ways. As we have another look at this, picture perfect shot down to Carnegie in the end zone. But ultimately, in order to shut this down, the real answer is effort. And I'm not saying Still aren't putting in effort. I'm saying it takes Herculean effort. And it's a hard thing to pull off, and it's even harder to do it for a full game. So 6-3, Voltron taking advantage of the 2 breaks they've got and starting on offense. So we will see the Still O-line return to the field. Do you think that time off has helped them calm themselves down? Maybe they're ready to get back out there?
I do. I think we're going to see some good things from the Still offense. I predict a hold here on offense.
I'm going to agree with you. I feel like after that last time, maybe relax themselves a little bit. We know what we can do. We know what they're trying to do. They're trying to stay close, but then they're also keeping their eyes for opportunities to flash to the open lane. So just bait a couple of things and then try and hit the open men when they come.
Both teams using a Blady pull tactic. Green centering to O'Callaghan. And a diving D. Maybe we were wrong. Joe Sefton with a huge cup dive. Doy. Oh, sorry. No, that's Foster. Bump on the mark there probably from Harkness.
It's going to go back uncontested, so that's a fresh 10 in front of the end zone. And we were perhaps a little premature in our hope for this Still O-line. Looks like it's going to be a long shift for the D.
Sefton. Point isn't over yet. And then a round throw to Harkness in the end zone. Now the point's over, and another break from Voltron.
Did Still get a pass off? They got like the centered it, and then so much pressure. I didn't even have time to see. It looked like for a second Voltron might have been in a cup, but I'm not sure if they were in a cup. So mixing it up on the defense themselves. We were talking to them beforehand. They said we really back ourselves on the match defense, but they're not content to just sit back and run that the whole time. They don't want to let Still get comfortable at any moment. I mean, if anything, we might be having to change their name to Wobble after these last few performances.
Still's O-line walking back to the line. They are going to get another chance, mixing up 1 or 2 of the players, but mainly remaining the same.
So 7-3 in Voltron with a statement of intent against the 2-time Canadian National Masters champions.
And we do have those 2 players you mentioned out on the field. Maybe they'll match up against one another, O'Brien versus Lindquist.
That would actually be such a fanboy moment for me. Like, that's one of the leaders of the club that I started with, going up against one of the people who inspired me when I first took up the sport. It's there's a lot to really love about being here in this Masters tournament, not just because it's here in sunny Limerick and Europe's premier sporting campus, but also because they're legends.
To Ring. Around to Hunter. Finds Lindquist. Bayless with the matchup there. Greg Ellis. Ellis with the big huck. Doesn't look like he had much of an option. O'Callaghan looking to get underneath that, but Mike Lee with the jets on just gets there. O'Callaghan to finish that up.
I'm like 90% sure that was thrown to O'Callaghan, but Mike Lee, basically if you hang a disc anywhere on a pitch that Mike Lee's standing on, it's in the air for longer than 2 seconds, it's basically a throw to Mike Lee. As we have another look, this was just Voltron punching in that break point. So 7-4 still get a big time hold. And we've seen, in fairness to them, we've seen this D-line get a turn. It was on the Voltron D-line. They haven't had too much success trying to limit Voltron's O-line. But all that can change in just a matter of moments. As I alluded to earlier, I very much believe in energy. I very much believe in momentum in this sport, because I believe in the mental side of the game. I think that's a huge aspect of it. You cannot destroy energy, you can only transform it. So right now, Voltron are the ones providing the energy. They are filling this game with electricity using their offense and their defensive pressure, but can still take that themselves and turn it against Voltron. Hopefully, and they'll need to get the breaks now, because if they go into half 4 down, I think this game might be over.
And you can hear the still sideline maybe over the microphones just trying to amp up their D to get their D-line to get this first and much needed break.
It's so difficult to try and think of what they could change up on defense against Voltron when Voltron just looks so clean, so composed, but also so aware and conscious of what's happening around them. They respond to the defense with their offensive options rather than just trying to batter through it.
Céad. Karlinski. And a diving catch from Speidel. Castine and back to Karlinski.
I do like that switch. There was a very brief window to get a block, and that's about as big a window as you're going to get against this Voltron O-line. So switches, opportunistic chances to poach off where your teammates are aware that that's what you're going to be going for and trying to come on and
Ellis coming on for Yankee there. Looks like he may have just been stepped on or rolled his ankle.
Well, hopefully Yankee's okay.
Castine checking in the disc for Voltron. Marquette into the middle. Back to Castine. Still working a little harder. It looks like Coops really wanted that hand block, but there was a bit of contact and a no contested foul.
No contested foul, but the Al frustrated hop up and down. Just got to work that off for a second. Thought I delivered the goods.
Castine around to Marquette. Karlinski. An early set stack from the end zone. Now just inside the brick with Castine. And Karlinski will go back to Castine on a travel call.
So to remind everybody who's watching, there are 2 streams today, all day, for free on YouTube on the WFDF channel.
Karlinski finds Marquette just outside the end zone. Still putting on the pressure. Not an easy score, but a second easy cut there, and Voltron will hold.
Tireless is how I would describe the offense, and exhausting is certainly what it looks like to try and play defense against it. But there's the positivity by Still. You love to see it. And they are far from out of this game mentally, which means they're far from out of this game in reality too. But I'm very glad I'm not the one out there chasing these Seattle players around, because it's got to be difficult. So that is halftime, 8-4. It was 1 point off. I thought they'd take half 8-5. We'll be back after a short message from our sponsors in about 5 minutes' time. And remember, this is brought to you by WFDF, as well as Discraft, providing top quality discs, and VC Sports Apparel, who've been outfitting Ultimate players with the best apparel since 1998.
Bichon picks up, and they've got a short field. They've got another goal. It's tied up at 12. I cannot believe what I'm
goes.
seeing
Can
here.
Lola Dam chase that one down?
That is a score for Hartlinger and Falcon. Fantastic run by Julia Love.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge.
And we believe that that requires knocking down the paywall.
We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch, and we want them to go viral.
When you become a member, you enable us to improve our working relationships with tournament organisers, events and federations.
And you'll help us to produce live stories for Ultimate fans, and to generate new fans with our enhanced content.
We are a group of Ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts, and we want to bring you coverage on a more consistent basis. We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Ciao ragazzi, support the community.
Let's subscribe Ulti TV. There's lots of the videos, posting, everything. Check it out. They are the best one. Woo!
If you want to grow Ultimate Sports, become a member of Ulti TV.
Regardez Ulti TV. Deviens membre d'Ulti TV et fais grandir ta communauté.
Top Ulti TV, veľmi eroginkime, Ultimate vendromene. Si quieres ayudar a Ulti TV, puedes ser miembro de Ulti TV.
Thumbs up for Ulti
Everyone,
TV.
follow Alti.tv on Instagram, on YouTube. They've got everything.
Best content.
Like their pictures if you love free speech. Just do it.
We're counting on you.
Bli medlem på Ulti TV.
Became member
of Alti.tv.
Mamma mia.
Contribue au développement d'Ultimate avec Ulti TV.
Like and subscribe, Ulti TV, the best in the world.
We want to grow Ultimate.
we want to grow Ultimate. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We have our signature style 2-camera setup,
With thousands of hours of experience,
and our crew is globally dispersed to facilitate coverage everywhere around the world. We can also scale back our broadcast with just one elevated camera, or scale up with 2 fields, 2 cameras, and 2 commentators on each.
we work with local teams and we all have the same mission, to grow the sport and bring it to new people by providing live coverage and news stories.
Become a member today on our Patreon page.
And fund our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories, ideas and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
We are back with the second half of this quarterfinal matchup. Masters Open teams still from Ottawa, Canada, and Voltron from Seattle, USA. It has been a great first half, really intense D on both parts. We've seen some spitting Ds from both teams. Voltron managing to capitalize on their defending points, though, and have been the only team to break so far. Lorcan, what do you think we're going to see in the second half?
I think we're going to see Voltron continue to pound still into the dirt, if I'm honest with you. I feel like Voltron have just got this level of power and ability that is so difficult to contain. Like, have we really seen Still be able to dislodge this O-line?
Not yet, to be fair.
I don't think we've seen anybody be able to do that so far at this tournament, and we're starting to get into the business end of the tournament. Semi-finals are coming up after this. Hopefully Still can find that energy, but at the end of the day, when your opponents are just so adept at taking whatever is available, and with the amount of throws they have and the experience they have, something is always available. I don't know how they're going to be able to stop them. Hopefully we can see Still mount a bit of a comeback, get a few points on the board, but it's an uphill battle.
8-4 for Voltron, still needing quite a number of breaks then to come up, and we're seeing Still's stalwart O-line taking the field right now.
So Still, that O-line is just getting forced into these tough situations, and they've managed to play their way out of it sometimes, but always through contested catches and really difficult plays for their receivers, which they have got quality receivers, like real titans of the sport, but at the end of the day, if you have to exert that much effort just to retain possession or pick up the odd score, it's not generally indicative of a team who are in control of the matchup.
No, you're definitely right. They're potentially just getting a bit down on themselves. I'm hoping that they had a good pep talk in that halftime to pick themselves out of this little bit of a slump that we're seeing them in, because I know that they have the capability of hanging with this team on offense. That disc will sail out of bounds, so O'Callaghan will pick that up directly and bring that to the brick line.
Do you think Still can maybe switch up some things? It looks like they're going for a split stack here to try and generate that space in the middle of the pitch to shoot through, and then maybe hit a deep shot off one of the sidelines. It's generally a traditional set play from a split stack.
Yeah, I'm betting that we're going to see Ellis and Lee on that far sideline there with the initiation, and look, there we go. But O'Callaghan looks at it, finds Green, because that was the break side, couldn't get that off. Green with the big throw to Hunter. Hunter with the grab outside the end zone, going for the safe play rather than milking that in, because his defender was hot on his heels.
Big time grab, and the smart decision as well. You don't want to let that run. Maybe it goes past you. I always find discs tend to pick up speed as they get closer to the ground.
Bit of a pick call as the players line themselves up again, setting up a stack in the end zone. What do you think? We're going to see front of stack ring here with the cut?
Maybe, although I can imagine a lot of coaches would be very mad if that's what it is.
It's a difficult throw so short, but Ellis is kind of out of position in the back of the stack. So we've got Green with the reset, letting the stack sort itself out. Centers the disc to Lee. To Way. Back to Ring in the middle. Still just swinging it back and forth, looking for an open person in the end zone. Ellis now sidelined there with Way. Voltron have pushed them back just a little bit, and Way will find Green. We might be calling it out of bounds. It looked like he had a foot down, but it is on the far sideline, so it is hard to tell from here.
I would honestly agree with some of those Voltron players. It looked like he was dragging his foot, and when he actually caught it, he hopped into the air. We're going to have a quick look here on our fast action replay slow-mo cam. It is almost completely blocked by Reed Koss, so let's have another look on our alternate view. No, that's in. That's fine.
Players do have the option to come and check the camera footage if they so chose to do so.
But they do have to choose that themselves. We're not allowed, say we've got the answers right here, and we're not allowed impede the flow of the game. So you're only allowed to do it if you can do it without adding extra time on the clock. So that's why it's great if you have, say, your spirit captain or somebody on the sideline who's just, I'm just going to have a quick sconce at this. Sconce is slang for a quick look. Just going to have a quick sconce at this and then see what it says, and then raise their hand as if they were any person with perspective contributing to the conversation. Looks like that was resolved fairly. and amicably, and they're going to retain possession on the front corner of the end zone.
Keelan Way looking for the dump. Just a bump on the mark. You can see the intensity that both of these teams are playing with.
Now, is that a charging foul or a blocking foul?
Both.
Body to body, Samantha Mumba, Irish music legend.
Way tapping it in. Shoots it across the ring. Back to Way. Voltron with the tight D. Hunter now outside the end zone. And Green wide open for the continue pass.
Really great dump resetting by Still under immense pressure. Huge shout out to Patrick Bayless, who was doing a fantastic job on shutting down Lee, who is normally Still's go-to option in those kind of situations. They rely on his quick cutting and his ability to turn to just leave defenders behind him. That time they weren't quite having that much success, and something Voltron do a really great job of doing is flashing help D without sacrificing yards. So they seem very adept at recognizing when they can just briefly involve themselves to delay a downfield action without giving up anything more than a pass backwards and a loss of yards for the Still offense. So going to have another look. That was such a close bid. Synonymous with this defense that Voltron are applying, and then a nice little dish for the score.
You know, I like that matchup, Pat Bayless on Mike Lee. Pat Bayless, I don't know if you know this, he's actually a longtime veteran of Revolver from down in the Bay Area, and he was one of their top defenders for a number of years. He has incredible athleticism, and he actually moved up to Vancouver, BC about 5 years ago and has been playing for the last 5 years with Furious George.
But when it comes to the Masters, I suppose because...
Well, he's still American. He might live in Canada, but he's still got American citizenship.
So he has to play with the American Masters team?
I think he could choose to play with either because you have residency in Canada. You can play with Canada, but because you are a citizen of America, you can play with America.
Very fair. Well, he is proving his worth for this Voltron side so far today.
Disc is centered to Karlinski. Still in a bit of a junk zone.
I like this from Still. You got to switch it up. You got to show him different looks. You can't let him get comfortable.
Looks like Still have two players actually playing deep to cut that off.
So see how their trap on the sideline works, almost non-existent.
Sefton and Kosadar. Back to Sefton.
There's the switch to match and a pick called downfield. I think a huge part of the cup is that once you work them to the side and you try to usher them to the sideline you want them to get stuck on, then you have to clamp down, and especially with throwers this good, you can't give them those easy pops down the line.
And Sefton will bring the disc in at stall 4. A leaping crab from Kosadnar. And Karlinski. Back to Kosadnar looking for the swing around to Harkness. And just out of the hands of Marquette. Couldn't quite keep it that in the field. Our Still has found a turn. Our first turn I think we've seen from this Voltron O-line.
A huge moment in this game, and at the perfect time as well. Still got that crucial offensive hold to open the half. Oh man, Voltron just love flying around.
Coobs with that grab up to Parsons. Finds Army. Into Hogel. Back to Kubanek. The D-line showing some patience here. Irick in the middle. An Io shooting pass up to Prue. Parsons now with the disc in the middle. Injury sub will be taken. It looks like Hogel is going off, and Ellis is coming on. Hogel did get a bit of an injury in an earlier match this week as he was bid kind of on top of. So I know that it's something that has been bugging him. Feeling a bit better this morning, he was telling me, but just not holding up completely.
Well, by the time you make it to 33, it's more suspicious if you don't have a nagging injury.
And Parsons will tap this disc in. Coups pointing over to Army to get the disc. Ellis. Ellis, being a veteran of GOAT from Toronto, finds Irick in the middle for the huge shot to the end zone, but it looks like Army was going the other way, and this will be shot out of bounds.
So that's a little bit of a let-off, I suppose, for Voltron, although the miscommunication winds up getting wiped out by the inaccurate throw. 8-5 can still do it again. At least they've proven they can get a block, and that's a big difference to make. So they're going to start from match down in the field.
Marquette bringing the disc up.
I think if I were them, I would have tried to set up the zone again. Just trap them in this corner.
Oh, probably would have been a good shout. Disc is centered. Doy with the big huck. Houseman underneath it brings it down for the score. Still could not catch up to him.
On a string. That throw went up and down in the air a little bit from the wind, but for the most part was just sitting in the absolute ideal position to be chased down for the grab by Houseman.
And while the Still D-line didn't manage to convert their turn here, we did see that they can generate turns, but wow, look at that throw and run down grab.
That is so pretty.
That was nearly the entire length of the pitch.
I also love that backhand break, by the way. The step forward and throw it then at a 45-degree angle. Both throws there, just beautiful. And that comes from literally decades of throwing. And then you become so calm and so confident with those puts that it's very difficult to exert defensive pressure when the person with the disc in their hand is like, I can put it to you if you've got 2 meters of separation. Doesn't matter where you are with those 2 meters of separation. It just matters that you have those 2 meters of separation.
Well, we're even seeing these Voltron players saying, I can throw it to you with 6 inches of separation and that pinpoint. No, that's all.
Yeah, I'm sorry. 2 meters of separation, that's the European measurement. I believe in empirical or North American terms, that's 6 inches.
Green collects the disc to O'Callaghan. Voltron putting a bit of a junk defense just to shut down that initial play, but Ring gets it up to Hunter on the sideline. Ellis now getting a couple more yards.
Voltron are just so good at mucking up your offense with their defensive positioning.
Ring, O'Callaghan in the middle, and there's a pick call, so it will stop. Doesn't look like it affected, though, so it will stay with O'Callaghan in the middle. Ellis back to O'Callaghan. Resets the stall count. Ellis. Way looking for a deep shot. Doesn't find it. Has to come back under, but there was a bit of collision. Everyone's okay, but we'll stop the play.
You can always tell when North American teams are going up against each other. They are a bit more touchy-feeling, ironically. And bit more intense, bit more contact. And that's what they're comfortable with. That's what they grew up playing. So as long as both teams are okay, that's one of the beauties of Spirit. You know, you define it with your opponent in each game. More like guidelines than a code, really.
Another pick before Ellis has a chance to get rid of that disc.
Just trying to watch the fingers of Henry Schneider to see what that stall count's coming in on.
Hunter. O'Callaghan. And yet another pick. Taps it in. Big gainer to Corey, but can't, sorry, to Way, but can't hold on to it. Feastock. And that was a lucky turn.
Over the top and off the fingertips as Brian O'Callaghan calls a time out. So they're still in it. The 4-point gap remains, but it's something that Voltron are constantly threatening to expand. We need to see Still calm down their offense, try and clean it up a little bit, and then respond in kind. Can they do it? We will find out after this timeout and a message from our sponsors.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, Ultimate TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
our
work
work
to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
We are back as the disc is being tapped in after that timeout. O'Callaghan. Voltron shutting down the initial pass cut from Ellis, but then turns and strikes deep for the score, making that look like that was the plan all along. Beautiful backhand from O'Callaghan. Just a textbook isolation play. Still putting it in the end zone for the hold.
Really impressive stuff from Still, and exactly what you want to see coming out of a timeout. So frequently we call them turnouts because in a lot of situations people call the timeout. It gives them a chance to come up with an offensive strategy or an offensive set play, but also gives the defense a chance to set up, and it kind of takes some of your momentum and energy away, giving you another cold start, which a lot of these things tend to favor the defense. We frequently see turnovers from that position. This time Still gather their thoughts, gather their spirits, and send a smooth shot to the end zone, closing the gap to 9-6 and keeping them alive.
I really like Still's hats. I kind of want to see if I can snag one of those for myself, because it actually says distilled, but the still is in the white lettering, and the dis and id on the other end is like in the black lettering to kind of blend in with the hat, so you can't tell unless you're right up close.
That's pretty cool. And again, one of the WFDF regulations for teams who are going to be on show pitches or live streams is that all their hats match, which seems, maybe the first time you hear it a little extra unnecessarily, but honestly, it looks pretty cool, and obviously helps us.
Still up with the pull. A couple of new D-liners out there. See if they can generate another turn and this time capitalize on it. Céad with the disc.
You can tell from Still's intensity. They recognize this is a knockout game. Going with the cup again.
A cheeky little scoober over the top. Céad is now with the disc again. And another upside down throw up the sideline puts a little give-go there between Karlinski and Speidel for an easy score.
They're keeping their foot on the pedal and forcing Still down. You think this is an opportunity for us to get back in this game. This is an opportunity for us to capitalize on the O-line success. And Voltron say, this is an opportunity for me to throw some fun overheads against your zone because it's not that windy, and who doesn't love throwing overheads? As we're going to have another look at the hammer. Into acres of space, and then just a quick bit of give-go, sometimes referred to as dribbling.
And that's one of the downsides that you can see with the zone, especially when there's not a ton of wind, is that once you do break over that initial 3 or 4 person cup, then you are kind of mismatched downfield, more offenders than defenders, and defenders are left catching up when you have such experienced and pinpoint throwers on the team like Voltron.
They're very comfortable moving quickly with the disc. Because sometimes that urgency can really work against offenses. They break through the cup, but then they try to do that little give-go, and one person throws it slightly behind the other person, or it gives a chance for an uprushing defender to just steal in and knock it out from behind. But Voltron are so composed and so experienced in basically every single position that there's not really a danger of that happening. They do not give you an opportunity. You have to make one for yourself, and that is rare at any level of any sport, really.
Hausman with the pull. That is a nice pull. Lots of hang time there, giving time for the defense to get down. One centering pass to O'Callaghan, and the defense is there. Over the hand tips of Hunter, though. O'Callaghan, just a slight miss throw, and Voltron will have a chance to pick up the disc here and punch it into the end zone from the brick. Rupp. Sefton finding Bayless. And a bidding layout D by Bryce Ring maintains possession for Still's O-line.
I don't think it's premature to say that saved the game for Still, keeping their hopes alive.
Way with the disc. Resets to Ellis. O'Callaghan. Couple of picks downfield. And Ellis will be the one to tap this in. Hausman on the mark.
I like that pick call, by the way, with the one where you agree. Look, I wasn't going to get there, but I would be closer than I currently am. Again, shows that despite all the intensity, this is an incredibly fair-minded game we're seeing between these two established powerhouses of their respective National Masters divisions.
That's really nice to see.
I mean, it's basically two teams loaded with coaches.
Way. Over to Green. Big flick, Huck. Is it gonna get there? Max Hunter with the diving catch. Patiently awaits an open pass to the end zone to O'Callaghan.
Really nicely done. Great chase by O'Callaghan to make himself available for the follow-through. Great shot to the end zone. Honestly, I thought Andrew Hagan was gonna bid there for a second, but it was carried perfectly around him. So here we're gonna have another look at the beautiful flick cut coming out of the hands of Colin Green. And I thought it's probably just a perspective issue. I thought maybe Hagan would go for the bid. We've seen plenty of Voltron players just throw themselves around. But in the end, that's a nice catch by Eric Hunter, and then the uprushing Brian O'Callaghan collects it in the end zone for a score. So 10-7 they hold. They're keeping that gap to the 3 points. Comes from the march that Voltron were able to steal early in the game. But they've been trading ever since.
Which you thought that they would do. You thought Voltron would go up a few breaks and then they would trade back and forth?
Yes, yeah. Before the game, my call was Voltron will get a couple of early breaks, then they'll trade. The second half will be largely trading, but then Voltron will get one last break and probably win by 4, 15-11. So, I'm kind of on track. They got one more break than I thought they would in the first half, but I'm close. As are Voltron to reaching the rarefied air. Not so much for them, I suppose, of the top 4 of the World Masters Ultimate Club Championships. Thank you so much for joining us here at the University of Limerick. This broadcast brought to you by WFDF and ulti.tv for free on the WFDF YouTube channel. So we'll be here all day today, tomorrow, and Saturday, bringing you the action from UL.
Kosidnar. Seeing a match defense off the gate this time from Still. Castine. Looking for Kosidnar. Back to Castine, little give-go action there. A low pass, but it is taken in by Marquette. Voltron swinging it around the pitch, and Marquette finding an open swing into the end zone, into the hands of a waiting Joe Sefton.
And they just make it so hard to stop them. They seem so confident with the disc. You put all this effort in, you get a really great hold, and then they just come back out and within 30 seconds have scored smoothly, simply as well. Or at least it looks simple. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of practice.
Yeah, difficult to do any kind of defense on this team that just will take whatever you give them, and you can't cover absolutely everything on D. There is something that you have to kind of give up, and Voltron, being the experienced team, recognizing immediately what that is and taking it.
We were talking to one of the coaches for Voltron, and something he said to us was one of the main reasons Seattle has such a strong scene is that all of their high-level players are basically coaches as well. So we want to give a huge shout out to the whole Seattle youth scene, the club scene there, and just that entire community. It is a fantastic one. It is known around the world in many different forms, and it's lovely to get that insight. It just goes to show you, if you want to know how to build a legacy and you want to know how to build a resilient community that constantly pushes for the upper echelons of these tournaments, you've got to be willing to become a coach once you enter into the veteran status in your ultimate community.
Foster with the pull. We're seeing some really great pulls out there. This one will sail out of bounds, I think, though.
Right now, I'd say it's about 50-50. We've seen some good pulls. We haven't seen too many reach the end zone, which in fairness going into the wind is very difficult, although it's a light wind. I like some of the rolling pulls we've seen, but it's a peculiar one, even at this level, even after you've been playing for 20 years. So many times those pulls just sail out of bounds.
I don't know if you can hear the Voltron sideline pumping up their D as O'Callaghan taps the disc in for still. Over to Green, takes the deep shot to Ring, streaking to the end zone, and a score. He had about 5 yards on his defender there. You don't see that too often from Voltron.
Brilliant cut by Ring to set that up. Green with his second massive arcing flick hook, perfectly weighted for his receiver. That's what's still needed. That kind of a confident, quick fire response so their D-line can get right back out there and try and find some way of disrupting Voltron's flow.
And that is a difficult throw that's coming up. That's the same third of the field that's the thrower and the receiver are in, which makes for a very difficult throw because it's got to be pinpoint. You got to know exactly how fast your cutter is going and where they're going to end up. And it's a difficult read because you're looking over the back of your shoulder trying to find that disc in the air. But these two players, Green and Ring, showing how long they've played together, how long they've been playing the game in general, are just able to bring that down.
So when you talk about a same third throw, that's as if the pitch was divided into thirds lengthways, and you always want to throw from a different one to your cutter so they have time to read it. Unless you're really, really talented. So still, I'd be very surprised if they decide to go with that cup again, but I do think they need to bring some variation to their match defense to try and dislodge Voltron.
Well, and there's the rolling pull, rolls out the sideline, so we'll come in on the sideline. Phelan with that pull. Davis on the mark. Kosidnar over to Karlinski. Spidel finds Marquette. B-Stock. Marquette just outside the end zone. And a patiently waiting Tom Doy in the end zone, center of the end zone, completely free, reels in that pass.
So very frequently you'll see these Voltron players throw to the open side and the handlers take off with real intent, attacking up the line or attacking down the pitch, so the defenders have to react and still trying to peel off a little bit to help out where they can, but then Voltron just do what they do best and they take what you give them, turn around and just slot it in to where the available free player is. And it causes such movement that is very difficult to track and even more difficult to constrain.
And that's where we see the difference between newer players and experienced players, because a lot of newer players might try to punch that in, not recognizing the peel off the mark there for that poach. But Voltron recognizing that, again, the defense can't take away everything, so they did take away that initial up-the-line cut, but that left a wide open Doy in the middle.
I think it also speaks to the depth of Voltron, because a lot of times you see handlers who follow their throws will stop and try and insist on getting the disc back. Voltron just go full tilt, and if they wind up being open, they're open. They'll take the disc. If they don't wind up being open, they continue to run all over the pitch, never giving the defense a moment to stop, reset, and examine what's happened on the pitch since they last looked.
And as usual, Green collecting to O'Callaghan. Back to Green. Will we see another lefty flick huck way to Ellis, over to Ring. Back to Ellis through a bidding Joe Sefton, keeps alive. Ring now on the sideline. The Voltron Cup coming, but no problem for Ring as he hammers out of there to Green and back to O'Callaghan. Little scoober over to Green.
And this is what you need to do against this cup. Overheads, and then quick give goes.
And Lee, just outside the end zone, finds a waiting Hunter who had managed to split his defenders.
So Lee is going to keep collecting stats. I think that brings him to 14 assists and 14 goals. Set up for 28 full stats. Really nicely done. And quite an impressive offensive hold. Stills O-line has really come into this game, as we see there. Again, the quick give and go finish. Like you were saying earlier, you get that overhead over the cup, and then you've got this opportunity for these quick pops, as generally you have more offensive players than defensive ones downfield.
Yeah, and there was one defender there trying to guard both Mike Lee and Eric Hunter. So forcing them to kind of, he was standing in between, so Mike Lee got the disc, which drew the defender to him, leaving Hunter open in the end zone. But still, D-line is gonna still need a break. As the score is 12-9. Voltron up 3 breaks.
And they continue to hold, they continue to exchange here in this second half. But that's not good enough for Still.
Andy Corey with the pull again. Lots of hang time on this one will give Still lots of time to get down to stop that first pass, or at least make it harder. Castine. And a screaming Carnegie coming down the sideline.
Literally.
Marquette looked like he was gonna go for that bat hand huck, but instead breaks to Karlinski in the middle and a swing across to Carnegie. Back to Kosidnar, who has the big backhand huck into the awaiting arms of Jacob Speidel.
And again, the way they use the width of the pitch, the way they move it around and then hit a lovely break side, kind of half huck, half pitch leading pass, but it's so difficult to stop any of these plays, so difficult to really slow them down. As confident as Still's O-line has become, just look at how Voltron work this. Carnegie, lovely little pop through into the middle, and then there is the shot down the line.
Sorry, I said that was a backhand, that was a flick.
I think that was Kosidnar sending it to Jacob Speidel. Again, it's a lot of fun to say these names out loud rather than just read them in a screen while watching Ultimate highlight videos in my college dorm. So Still, again, that defense just doesn't look that close to Voltron, and Voltron look 2 points away from the semi-final, which seems something of a foregone conclusion right now. Although please do keep it here, because you can be guaranteed you're going to see some more high-octane, high-intensity action, not just in this game, but in the remaining 3 games on both of our pitches. And remember, we also have on the opposite pitch another matchup that is going on today. That one between Johnny Walker and Zimmer. Johnny Walker, obviously, one of the older versions of Johnny Bravo, and then Zimmer, a UK team with a lot of ex-national players on it. Has Still come back at them.
Still's O-line bringing it up. Way in the middle, little dish to Green. Mike Lee. Big huck now into Way, and that is easily caught for the hold.
So great stuff by Still. You can see the confidence flowing from them as we get into the latter stage of this competition, but unfortunately they gave up those breaks at the first end of the half, and their D-line is really struggling to help them gain them back. Beautiful pass by Lee. And this is much more like the Still offense we became accustomed to seeing throughout the course of this tournament. The high release backhand really well set up as the Voltron players trying to poach a bit more of the open side, and well taken down by Keelan Way. That's Keelan Way's 5th goal of the tournament, to go along with his 8 assists. And Mike Lee's just going to add another stat to his total. I mean, that's very much getting up there by now.
So are you saying that Keelan Way has a way with the disc? Betcha he's never heard that one before.
This is the originality and the ingenuity that we bring you from the Ulti.tv commentary booth. We're so thankful for you joining us here at WFDF 2022 on Europe's premier sporting campus, for free on YouTube on the WFDF official channel. We're watching Voltron take on Still here in the quarterfinal of the Masters tournament. It is brought to you by Friction Gloves and the Greatest Ultimate Bag, along with VC Apparel and Discraft.
Great pull by Andy Corey to that back corner. Karlinski with the disc in the center. Seeing a bit of a vertical stack from Voltron. Karlinski finds Marquette. Winds up for the big backhand fake and finds Kosenar in the middle, gaining some yards. Up to Castine. Back to Marquette. Leaning over grab. Keeps the disc alive. Looking for his reset and Kosenar over a bidding Ellis. Marquette. Big forehand flick. He's looking for his receiver. Easily found. Carnegie again with that strike score.
What a throw. It's just going to be so frustrating because you can work incredibly hard shutting down Carnegie on his first look, his second look, and then the thrower removes you from all contention and all relevancy. They are so accurate. As we have another look here. Here's the setup into the power position. You can see Carnegie going deep from a place where most people are told not to go deep. He was technically on the open side. He was what would for most people look like a clearing cut, so you're not really going to guard that turn. But when you've got players who can just put it on the back end zone cone like that, what hope do you have? An absolutely stellar shot. From Marquette.
Gotta give kudos to D-lines like this, though, with games like this and a lot of other games where there's not a lot of breaks at all. The D-lines work so hard out there, and they don't get a lot of credit, but they are working really, really hard. And I've never been a D-line player myself, but I have to say I admire the D-line so much.
Well, as somebody who always was a D-line player, I gotta tell you, thank you. I just remember a coach telling me when I was first coming into the game, it's like, look, good job, because if you're doing your job right in the D-line, no one will ever notice you.
Hunter, up to Way. There was a travel called on the throw, so it's going to come back. Thank you for using your hand signals. It really helps us out here in the booth.
I like the travel one, looks like you're using a boxing training bag.
I never thought of it that way. I always just think of it in terms of basketball, because basketball in America, that's the travel signal for that as well.
Very true. Not a fan of disco then either.
Mike Lee in the middle. That's Green.
Got a pick downfield.
The lefty handler for Still throws up a flick huck to Hunter, who dives but can't quite get a hold of it. The wind may have taken that one just a little bit.
That one got away from the Hunter in the end zone. He put his body on the line and just bouncing off the corners of his cuticles.
We haven't seen the Still O-line turn it over in a couple of points, so Baystock will have a chance to bring it up to the line for, Besthawk.
This is the windiest it's ever been. It's blowing far side to near side, right to left. And that seemed to just be a little error as a slip. No foul, so here comes Still, the chance to get it up to 11.
Ring.
That's Ring with the disc in front of the end zone.
Ring just outside the end zone. Looking for something opening up, but he calls a timeout. And has the teams on the field take a short timeout. Important to hold for Still. They don't score this point, and that is the game. And so Still are going to take a couple of minutes to cool their heads, and we will be right back as well.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, Ultimate TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
fund
our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
And we are back at this intense game, quarterfinal matchup against Voltron Seattle and Still from Ottawa, Canada. Ring with the disc outside of the end zone, looking to get Still's 11th point, and a round break to Ellis in the end zone. That low release flick from Ring, just phenomenal.
Brilliant, expansive play, and you can see how locked in Voltron are. They're still talking to each other, saying, how did that happen? Working out, finding solutions, constantly looking to improve their game, because they recognize it's not just this match. There's 2 more big ones to go. So we're gonna
Snyder on the mark must just have been curious. How did he get that off?
Well, it's difficult enough to contain any of these throwers, really. They're so good, so skilled, and that's something you kind of get lost sometimes when you watch it at the highest level, just how much pressure is being put on all the time. You spoke about the incredible effort the Still D-line has put in. They now need to snap off 4 points in a row, which is a mammoth task. Task for just about anybody. And considering they've gotten a turn of Voltron so far in this game and they weren't able to convert it, they have scored. They came on to break the slide, which was a big coaching call and something that really worked out. Very impressive by Still, but they might be about to be laid to rest.
Possible game point for Voltron as Andy Corey puts up the pull. You know, I thought that was going to sail out of bounds, but it just sits.
So Voltron looking to save their season with some match defense.
Karlinski. Up to Castine. Bit of a call. Looks like it may have been a pick.
Let's go get it in there, Still.
Castine taps it in. And a round backhand for Marquette. And back to Karlinski in the middle. Kosidnar. Harkness. Big flick huck. Could this be the game? To Marquette in the end zone. Yes, yes it is. Voltron, the winners of the quarterfinal men's game, will move on to the semifinals.
And that was Marquette climbing a ladder and pulling down a semifinal berth for the Seattle side. Voltron breaking down their opponents into separate pieces and attacking the spaces that are left in between. Sits back, launches it up. Sam Harkness down to Marquette. And that was by no means an easy grab as well. There was a danger. He had to really get up there, but confident, controlled play One turn is all they gave up, and it didn't even lead to a break. This Voltron side are here with intent and intensity, so it'll be very exciting to see how they perform going forward. 15-11 the final score, and the two-time Masters champions of America get the crucial victory over the two-times Masters champions of Canada.
You got to give it to Still, though. They did get the most points we have seen anyone get on Voltron this tournament. So they didn't give up without a fight, but we will see Voltron moving on to the semis later this week. Thank you for joining us here today. We are Copyright 2022 World Flying Disc Federation. This has been Troy Weston and Lorcan Murphy taking you for a spin.
I like that. I like that one.
I really appreciate it.
We are a group of ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge. We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch.
We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Like and subscribe, Ultimate TV, the best in the world.
Become a member and
fund
our
work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Bichon picks up, and they've got a short field. They've got another goal. It's tied up at 12. I cannot believe what I'm seeing
Can
here.
Lola Dam chase that one down? That is a score
Hartelijke Elferkel! Fantastic run by Julia Love!
We're on a mission to make Ultimate huge.
And we believe that that requires knocking down the paywall.
We want our videos and live streams to be free to watch, and we want them to go viral.
When you become a member, you enable us to improve our working relationships with tournament organisers, events and federations.
And you'll help us to produce live stories for Ultimate fans, and to generate new fans with our enhanced content.
We are a group of Ultimate players, coaches and video enthusiasts, and we want to bring you coverage on a more consistent basis. We want to make stories that not only reach you,
but also reach people outside the Ultimate community.
Ciao ragazzi, support the community.
Let's subscribe Ulti TV. There's lots of the videos, posting, everything. Check it out. They are the best one. Woo!
If you want to grow Ultimate Sports, become a member of Ulti TV.
Regardez Ulti TV. Deviens un membre d'Ulti TV et fais grandir ta communauté.
Top Ulti TV, fáilte, míle, Ultimate vendromena. Si quieres ayudar a Ulti TV, puedes ser miembro de Ulti TV.
Thumbs up for Ulti
Everyone,
TV.
follow alti.tv on Instagram, on YouTube. They've got everything.
Best content.
Like their pictures if you love frisbee. Just do it.
We're counting on you.
Bli medlem på Ulti TV.
Became member.
Alti.tv.
Mamma mia.
Contribue au développement d'Ultimate avec Ulti TV.
Like and subscribe. Ulti TV, the best in the world.
We want to grow Ultimate.
we want to grow Ultimate. We've worked with the major federations and the greatest events.
We have our signature style 2-camera setup,
With thousands of hours of experience,
and our crew is globally dispersed to facilitate coverage everywhere around the world. We can also scale back our broadcast with just one elevated camera, or scale up with 2 fields, 2 cameras, and 2 commentators on each.
we work with local teams and we all have the same mission, to grow the sport and bring it to new people by providing live coverage and news stories.
Become a member today on our Patreon page.
And fund our work to cover more events in the future and to bring more stories, ideas and live coverage to the eyes of the Ultimate world and beyond.
Alti.tv